The Queen delivers every royal baby herself on the balcony of Buckingham Palace before holding the baby up to Britain like the Lion King. Everything the light touches is your kingdom. Or it was. Things have changed a little on that front now.
Who lives down in deepest, darkest Africa? Who's the one who brought the jungle fame? Who's the king of animals in Africa? Kimber the white lion is his name.
It is 4:21 p.m. on Thursday, July 18th, 2019, and as soon as I finish recording this intro, I will be on my way to the AMC Burbank 16 in beautiful Burbank, California, to catch a 7:30 p.m. screening of The Lion King, parentheses 2019. I'm some jerk with a camera, and welcome to One Movie Later, where I compare and contrast my preconceptions and postconceptions of movies in theaters now. Gee, it's almost as though hand-drawn animation doesn't always translate well to real life. Or something. Welcome, one and all, to the spine-tingling conclusion of the parentheses 2019 trilogy!
2019, 2019, 2019.
So, Disney's whole goal this year was to win 2019, right? Back in the early 80s, Disney was really lucky if they got to release more than one new movie a year. And now, in this calendar year alone, they're ending the Marvel Infinity Saga, ending the Star Wars sequel trilogy, opening Galaxy's Edge, launching Disney+, sequelizing Toy Story and Frozen, and making enough stupid remakes for me to make this stupid sub-series. It's almost like Bob Iger got some premonition that the world was gonna end on January 1st, 2020, so now he's in a hurry to release everything while there's still time. I mean, it's just getting obnoxious at this point. As of this recording, all 5 of the top 5 highest-grossing movies of 2019 have been either produced or co-produced by Disney, and they still have yet to release Frozen 2 or The Rise of Skywalker. Not to mention the subject of this here vlog, which is sure to make it somewhere on that list, a remake of an obscure little title in the Disney animated canon known as... The last of the big 4 smash hits of the early 90s Disney Renaissance, The Lion King was a musical coming-of-age fable about the animal kingdom, told with the kind of operatic grandiosity that Disney animation in its prime could do better than anyone. It's one of those movies that's become so ubiquitous from everyone roughly my age watching it a million times, it's become damn near impossible to view objectively. But viewed as close to objectively as possible, it's not a perfect movie. The politics are a little dicey, and the tone goes back and forth between funny and serious a few too many times for every transition to be seamless. But overall, it's a classic for a reason. It just works. The visuals are magnificent, the voice acting is top-notch, the songs are catchy as hell, Mufasa's death scene is still one of the biggest traumatizing gut punches in cinema history. It's everything an animated feature can and should be. It somehow manages to balance Shakespearean melodrama and fart jokes without ever feeling too pretentious or too puerile. That takes serious talent. And it quickly shattered box office records, becoming the highest-grossing animated feature of all time until Finding Nemo dethroned it. Julie Taymor's stage adaptation became an equally legendary evergreen, currently the 3rd longest running show in Broadway history. And at the parks, it was never exactly unrepresented, but for such a big hit, it has been kinda weirdly underrepresented. Like, there's been a bunch of Lion King stage shows, most notably Festival of the Lion King and Animal Kingdom, which was so cheaply thrown together they were able to straight up move it to a different part of the park to make way for Pandora. And there was also Legend of the Lion King, a live puppetry show that played at the Magic Kingdom in Fantasyland of all places for about 8 years. And of course, Circle of Life and Environmental Fable, a preachy Captain Planet episode that ran at the land at Epcot for a couple decades. I talked about it in this video. But it's weird that The Lion King has never gotten a proper ride, right? Especially at Animal Kingdom, which was practically marketed as Lion King the Park.
Disney's Animal Kingdom. The imagination of Disney gone wild.
So, as Disney started making live-action reboots of all their animated classics, and as those reboots started making serious bank, a live-action Lion King seemed both financially inevitable and feasibly impossible.
What?
It doesn't look real.
I mean, the 2016 Jungle Book barely counted as live action because there was a real human kid playing Mowgli. Lion King has no humans in it. I guess they could have gone the dinosaur route of CGI characters against live action backgrounds, but no, the backgrounds in this are all CGI too. So it's not a live action remake. At all. WALL-E had more live action in it. It's an animated remake using a completely different style of animation that's specifically meant to reject the tenets of animation and make it look and feel like live action even though it's not live action.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
As with the Jungle Book remake, the director is Jon Favreau, and say what you want about the man's work, he has had one of the most legit, fascinating career trajectories in entertainment history. The same year the original Lion King came out, this guy was in something called PCU, playing a character named Gutter. And now, through a series of wildly unlikely events, he's one of the architects of the biggest movie universe ever, so he gets to lord over thousands of digital artists with an iron fist. Elton John and Tim Rice have written a brand new song for this remake, making this the second movie of the summer with a bunch of Elton John music. And hopefully this time they don't censor the gay sex scene between Timon and Pumbaa. The voice cast is full of amazing ringers. Donald Glover, Chiwetel Ejiofor, John Connie, Alfre Woodard, Florence Kasumba, Keegan-Michael Key, Eric Andre, freaking Beyonce. And if Beyonce's music video is any indication, they are really playing up the African aesthetic in a way that the original never quite did apart from the soundtrack. And for that reason, I think it's a great idea to give this movie an all-black cast. Kinda wish they'd actually given it one. I mean, I love Seth Rogen, Billy Eichner, and John Oliver, but three of these things are not like the others.
Society has decided that the lion voices are black, but the meerkat is Billy Eichner.
And of course, the legend himself, James Earl Jones, is reprising his role as Mufasa because no one else could ever replace him. You can replace everyone else in the original cast, but well, do you want to get force choked?
This just goes to prove the old show business adage, everyone is replaceable except James Earl Jones. Hakuna Matata.
It does feel kinda weird that he's the only one to return. I mean, it is still just voice work, not like a live-action reboot where an actor has to look the part. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor Thomas doesn't sound like a child anymore, but otherwise, with the sole exceptions of the late great Robert Guillaume and Madge Sinclair, all the original 1994 voice actors are still alive and working. Hell, Ernie Sabella is still voicing Pumbaa in the Lion Guard animated series for the Disney Channel. Replacing him with the guy from Sausage Party really isn't all that progressive. And speaking of Pumbaa, he looks like this now. Feast your eyes. Remember when he looked like this? Well, now he looks like this. Completely unappealing, thoroughly repulsive, not even the slightest bit cute, but it turns out this is how warthogs look in the real world, so we're stuck with it. You know, I'm not saying photorealistic talking animals can't be a valid way to tell a story. It just seems like the wrongest way to tell this story. So much of the drama and the comedy and the pathos and the fun of The Lion King came from seeing it in the unreal universe of a hand-drawn animated world. Maybe you could argue that it's a throwback to George Scribner's original take on the project.
George was passionate that he would like to do a movie that would have more of a kind of a National Geographic kind of sense, you know? He really wanted to do the nature red and tooth and claw kind of movie.
But the thing is, Scribner was wrong. Like, demonstrably wrong. The massive success of the movie we got pretty much proves how wrong he was. Why would you want to make animation look like a documentary? That's an insult to both mediums. Why would you want to slather the I just can't wait to be king sequence in realism? Who benefits from that? Kind of feels like they wanted to do something original with this technology, but Disney wasn't going to front the bill to develop it unless it was for a surefire moneymaker. The problem with that is it leads to questions like, do we make the warthog cute and violate the realisms, or do we make the warthog a warthog and violate everyone's eyeballs? And questions like that have no easy answers.
Unless your answer is, don't make the fucking movie!
I'm so proud of you guys. I recently rewatched the original Lion King to prepare for this, and I was struck by how absurdly, superhumanly beautiful it still looks. How much life is embedded into every frame. Paradoxically, the animation style that looks transparently fake feels 1,000 times more real than the animation style designed to look real. It's honestly kind of a hard movie to watch now because you realize a mere quarter century later, the art form used to bring it to the screen is dead. And this remake may as well be the final nail in its coffin. Disney hasn't released a proper hand-drawn animated film in 8 years. They even had to outsource the hand-drawn animation in Mary Poppins Returns to a different company. All the great masters of the form are getting older and older. Before long, they're gonna start dying out. The schools certainly aren't teaching it anymore. Even the TV shows that look hand-drawn are all done in Flash now. It's a skill that'll most likely be lost to history, and there is no other word for it. That is tragic. I mean, is there any better metaphor than the fact that I even had to do the parentheses 2019 trilogy in the first place? Disney could revive the art form they're most closely associated with anytime they want, and instead they've been picking its corpse clean for nostalgia dollars and spending obscene amounts of money on essentially programming a robot arm to repaint the Mona Lisa.
I'm gonna piss on the graves of your ancestors.
And the crazy thing is, story-wise, there is a way to make this remake something genuinely interesting. I don't think Disney has the nerve to do it, but there is a way. Hear me out on this. What if this remake acknowledges that lions are dicks? Seriously, in real life, lions are fiercely territorial creatures with zero respect for any other animals in the food chain. Much as I love the original, I've long thought the hyenas got kind of a bad rap in it. In nature, lions and hyenas are natural enemies, and the original came down very firmly on the lion side. Why? They're both predators. Lions are way more dangerous towards humans than hyenas are. Sure, hyenas kill and eat lion cubs, but lions kill and eat adult hyenas and hyena cubs. Objectively, lions are the bigger bullies. But they're also cute and marketable, and hyenas are not. And that's not even mentioning this little bit of wisdom.
Don't we eat the antelope?
Yes, Simba, but let me explain. When we die, our bodies become the grass, and the antelope eat the grass.
It's good to be the king! It's good to be the king! It's good to be the king!
What if the remake exposes how unfair and self-serving the circle of life rationalization really is? Hell, what if Simba's exile actively informs this new direction? What if living among meerkats, warthogs, and other former prey teaches Simba to be a better, more compassionate leader towards smaller, helpless creatures? And as long as we're nitpicking the original, it also put an uncomfortable amount of faith in monarchical divine right over the will of the governed. When Scar duplicitously assumes the throne, it causes a drought for no reason, and the instant he gets killed, it starts raining. What if the remake plays up even more how much Scar is manipulating the hyenas to his own selfish ends? Remember the Be Prepared sequence when the hyenas turned into fucking Nazis? At the time, that came off as kinda tacky, tone-deaf, and even edgelordy, but now that we've all been forced to watch just how easily power, selfishness, and psychotic immorality can congeal into straight-up fascism, especially with support from so many easily deceived idiots, yeah, that Riefenstahl reference has aged like wine. I'm just saying, most of these remakes so far have tried to subvert the originals somehow, and if you're looking for something to subvert in The Lion King, there it is right there for you. But if anything, Jon Favreau usually gives way too much slack to powerful douchebags who are objectively terrible people, so I'm not really expecting all that much from this. Well, at least it only looks to be the second most embarrassing singing cat movie of the year. Will I be proven wrong by a remake that's worthy of the throne, or will it cause a drought of imagination over the cinematic pride lands while hand-drawn animation lies dead at the bottom of a gorge? Come on, gang, let's find out!
Yay!
These wild years won't last forever. This kingdom comes right down.
Okay, introduce yourself, starting back here.
It's me, it's Dave. Hi, I'm here again.
Right.
All right. I'm Ryan, and let's give a hand to the folks who put this thing on. Mr. Jon Favreau, Bob Iger. Yeah. Lion King 2019. Yeah.
Woo.
And I'm Lupski, and I gotta say, I'm so happy that Ryan is here because, you know, when it comes to doing a review of The Lion King, you know, you gotta get hip.
You gotta get hip, Zazu. You see, because I'm a very famous movie star. I'm the one with all the... Oh, I'm on fire now.
What's up, you guys? I'm Jeff CAREY. I'm Emily.
And I don't know who I am anymore.
Jesus Christ, everybody.
Well, I mean, if you insist. We just saw The Lion King, parentheses, 2019.
Close parentheses.
Well, it was better than Wonder Park, I'll give it that much. The Lion King 2019 is not by any stretch of the imagination the worst movie I've ever covered for One Movie Later, but it is far and away the most boring.
Oh my god. Yawn.
I was bored out of my skull the whole time. I can't even technically call this movie bad.
No.
Because it is still The Lion King. It is still telling one of the greatest stories Disney's ever told. It's just a story that Disney has already told before, much
And better.
If you've seen the original, you'll be bored. And if you haven't seen the original, go see the original. It's much better.
I need to amend my comment. I call this a film. This is Disney movie type film product.
Yes.
Number 387.
This is like film sludge that they make in a factory. It's just, you know.
This is an all-vegan film substitute.
It's the same movie all over again. Beat for beat, it was the same plot.
They have the gall to say, based on The Lion King, when this is the fucking Lion King.
Visually, it's very impressive, but so what?
Congratulations, you did it.
Yeah.
A+.
I just want to
Why
watch
am I
like
supposed
Planet
to-
Earth now.
Why am I supposed to care?
That's how I felt.
It was
Yeah.
cute though. It's real animal cute. It
It's
has
cute.
that
There are cute moments.
going for it.
It's an approximation of animal cute. There were like little garnishes of decent ideas in this movie. It's just, you gotta wade through so much boring shit you already saw. Every so often it would add like a new scene that was kind of superfluous just for the sake of having a new scene that wasn't in the original, but it's like, fine, whatever.
I don't think the original Lion King is perfect, but one thing that is perfect about it is the pacing. This throws that out the window.
This is just so sluggish.
The Circle of Life is probably the most effective. Now that is the Gus Van Sant moment.
Yeah, that's the Gus Van Sant psycho
Shot for
scene.
shot.
What was the storyboard? Like,
They
did they
ski
just
in the middle
storyboard
of it.
exactly the same from the old movie? Did they put any effort into that? I kind of want to know how much of a role like Jon Favreau even played. Like you mentioned Gus Van Sant, the shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. At least he had to reshoot the scenes. I mean, what did Jon Favreau do?
There were some that he
He
did.
told the digital artist
he just-
yeah, you see that? Just do that.
Jon Favreau spent the day on set of Far From Home and then checked into the studio. Like, did you do the shot? Cool, it looks
Cool,
good.
I'm out of here. Maybe that antelope can bow a little lower. I mean, what?
But again, I wish we had the flexibility of animation. Even when they bowed, it wasn't as effective. Like in the original, when the animals bow, they're stretching their legs out and presenting themselves like in a deep, deep, reverent bow. No, Bobby, you went there, not me. I miss Rafiki hugging his buddy Mufasa. I miss,
Now he just kind of touches his forehead. James Earl Jones, on fucking Valium.
They dug James Earl Jones out of his tomb, like they do whenever they need more Mufasa or Darth Vader. He croaked into the microphone, and they dug him back into the ground.
Here's the thing, though.
It's the process.
Out of all the characters, Mufasa had the fewest lines that were different from the original script. Almost all of Mufasa's dialogue was verbatim from the original. Just use the old recordings again.
If they were going to do a quote live action version, they could have just taken the original audio and just placed new animation on top of it, and it would have worked because I think the original holds up that well.
There's probably some fucking WGA reason they had to change like a certain percentage.
What do you call the opposite of a nitpick? Where it's like, oh, that's another thing I like,
A nit praise.
A nit poke.
A nit
a not pick.
John Oliver as Zazu, 2 words. Nailed it. I want a bonus feature to be the uncut audio of what he's saying in the news report.
What you don't know is he's doing it from the Last Week Tonight desk, and every 10 seconds he's cutting to an old YouTube clip. So.
This film was not quite Gus Van Sant level of shot for shot, but when it breaks away from the original, it doesn't improve on it.
No.
And that carries over to the musical numbers where it's like, especially for Just Can't Wait to Be King and Hakuna Matata, it sounded like they were using the original backing tracks.
And Just Can't Wait to Be King, it's all around the watering hole. There's no big stack of animals at the end. It's
that made for an underwhelming.
They figured out a way to
Just Can't Wait
reinterpret
to
that
Be
in a
King.
realistic way.
They had Chiwetel Ejiofor, obviously a humongous Shakespearean actor, and Jeremy Irons, humongous Shakespearean actor. So they were going that
He
route.
sure did enunciate everything.
Meticulous planning, tenacity, expanding.
That wildebeest stampede looked like it was a YouTube video being played at half speed. It looked so slow. Maybe it was just because the original was unnaturally fast, which is part of what was exciting about it. Hello? I never felt the danger like I did in the original. It just felt like the wildebeest were going for a jaunty little ride, and Simba could have just gotten on a rock or something and been fine. Yeah. Mufasa's death scene looks fucking ridiculous. Where the lion falls from the cliff.
Again, photorealism is not always the best, because you know what's exciting in the movie? Watching the lions fight. You know what's not so exciting in real life? Watching lions fight. Because they just go, like your cats, like your house cats.
You know what the cherry on top of the stupidness of that scene was? They do the zoom out on Simba saying no, but like they linger on Simba for like a full second in a lockdown. It's like when you're a kid making a movie and you press record like a second before you do the camera motion.
I thought that part was fine, except for that. I think that part was kind of borderline, unintentionally funny. The zoom out from Simba, it's like,
None of the animals' mouths move like they're forming the words that are actually coming out. Even the lion. So even when he's going no, it just looks like he's going rawr. Zazu's talking like this all the time, but making really perfect vowels.
It's so bizarre to see like this photorealistic type of film with this dialogue and this music.
It's not about realism, it's about verisimilitude, and this movie had all the realism and none of the verisimilitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt more watching that trailer for The Art of Racing in the Rain than I did for Mufasa's death. I cried at the dog trailer, but not for Mufasa dying.
What better metaphor is there for failing as filmmaking if Mufasa dies and I feel nothing?
Simba didn't feel anything either because his face was a nothing. Everyone's
face in this was a nothing.
Everyone's face was a nothing except for Timon and Timon. He was like, Dad, Dad. And you're just like, why? You don't care? Why should I care?
Well, that's
his ears maybe went like that.
That's just a problem inherent in what they're trying to do, the photorealism. Those types of scenes is very difficult without actual facial animation.
This is an emotional story. It's not National Geographic. I want to see the emotion in your eyes, and I miss that.
I was trying to remember, did the animals look this unexpressive in the Jungle Book, and I just was able to roll with it because there was a human face to look at?
That's what I was thinking.
Or were they just better in the Jungle Book, and did Jon Favreau just forget how to do this?
I went to college with the actress who played the voice of young Nala. Nikita Kalam. She's still in LA. Find a picture of her online. She's a really cool gal. She works all the time.
We should have gotten her for this.
Oh, we played dancing cats in a panto together.
We should have gotten her for this so that you could tell her in person how bored.
I could tell her in person how much better her movie was.
When I watch The Lion King now, I know her. And when I see young Nala, I'll send her a message and go, oh my God, like I can see you in young Nala. I can see your face. Like, she has very big expressive eyes that she still has, and she had them when she was a kid. And she would tell me, oh yeah, they used to come in and draw us. That is what I missed. I could not see any of the actors in these animals. I could not tell the difference between Nala and Sarabi.
Me neither.
The lionesses all look the same.
And I think Nala had green eyes like she does in the original.
What, all lionesses look the same to you?
Of the many flaws in this movie, the casting was not one of them.
No.
It's like, I like the cast. I would have been more interested to hear them just do a dub of the original movie than to see it put to this new animation, which again...
Either that or just a whole movie of Billy Eichner riffing, because that was the most entertainment I got out of this.
Billy Eichner stole the show. Yeah. Timon and Pumbaa were when the movie came to life because they started giving us facial expressions.
The best thing in this movie was Billy Eichner as Timon, with close second being Seth Rogen as Pumbaa. Mostly the banter that you could tell was improvised.
That only laughs that I got in this movie were totally improvised moments.
They're casting Billy Eichner, to replace Nathan Lane. It's like you got to replace a famous gay icon with another famous gay icon.
Every decade has its yelling gay man, and right now we have Eichner.
Right.
You were allowed only one gay per Lion King.
So what about Elton John?
Some of the stuff Seth Rogen was improvising on was almost like like riff tracks on the original screenplay.
There were actually moments early on where at first I was like, is Seth actually trying an Ernie Sabella impression? But then I was like, oh no, he just sounds like that when he yells.
And I kind of loved that he was kind of a crappy singer.
If I ever choose to watch this again, I will fast forward through any parts that don't have the comic relief characters.
Our only characters with personalities will be our comic relief, and our leads will be boring as shit. And they weren't boring in the original. They had a lot of character. How do you take Donald Glover and just like take his whole personality?
So
Matthew
boring.
Broderick had more personality.
And that
Matthew
is sad.
Yeah.
Broderick.
I will give the movie this much credit. It had the least audible auto-tune of any Disney remake so far.
Yeah.
If there was any auto-tune, I didn't hear it, so point there. You know, Beyonce's a really great actress, but who knew she could sing?
I mean, it's a little too much like diva singing. Can I see inside?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of...
And the way she
how
sings
does it.
too, can you feel the love tonight? Like, it sounded odd to me.
He's holding back, he's hiding, but what? I can't decide. And I was like, what is this over-enunciation, Beyonce?
Who would have the gall to give Beyonce direction on anything?
But I think someone did give her some music direction. It was this weird mix. It's like, go full Beyonce, or why even cast her? If I could have seen Beyonce saying it, then you could see Beyonce with that like stone cold, like kind of glare, given some of those line readings. But again, coming out of cat mouth with Donald Glover Cat just being like, bye. They had no chemistry. I'm gonna go find help, bye. And it's like, what? Wait, you guys were supposed to have just had a fight. I don't, there's no sense of, there was no sense of urgency or passion.
Yeah, Donald Glover and Beyonce on stage doing Lion King, I would watch the fuck out of that.
The new Beyonce song, Spirit, basically sounds like Circle of Life 2. It almost got the exact same chords.
Yeah.
Elton John's going to sue somebody. Hans Zimmer, like, he's probably the best film composer, like, working today. I was worried that he would just be, like, phoning it in. It's like, okay, I'm just going to pull out my sheet music for everything else. Here you go, bye.
Hans Zimmer was kind of phoning it in. Like, a lot of the score was exactly the same as the original.
And not a knock against him. King of Pride Rock at the very end, that always gets to me. The thing is, I didn't really get that at all this time. If you go back to the original, like the little kind of Elton John mini EP they tack on to the end of the soundtrack, none of those songs are really distinctly Elton John. Circle of Life and Can You Feel the Love Tonight are like 90s pop ballads, and then Just Can't Wait to Be King is like an Elvis pastiche. He wrote a new song for this one, and it's a distinctly Elton John sounding song. It's like, oh, this is a little too Elton John. I get Levo M in there. And so after 25 years, we finally have Levo M and Elton John doing a Lion King song together. Tom Schumacher, who was a producer on the original, and he went on to produce the Broadway show, and Julie Taymor got executive producer
is
credits.
one of the most creative directors ever.
Where was her contribution to this movie?
She was an executive producer, but Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff and Brenda Chapman and Chris Sanders and Don Hahn, they get special thanks to. Remember when Lion King came out and it was an original story and it made a gajillion dollars? Remember when Blockbusters could do that?
Certain anime fans might disagree with you there, but that's another
within
story.
reason. As far as I'm concerned, the original Lion King is the best thing the Walt Disney Company has ever made. I think it is a perfect movie. There's like
Pretty close for
a really great script, great setups and payoffs, great performances. It's gorgeous. It's, I think, the best soundtrack between both the songs and I mean, it's Hans Zimmer, so everything he does fucking slaps.
And that's hard to argue against. The original is a masterpiece. It really is.
When they released stuff on video and everything was a Walt Disney masterpiece, they actually got it right that time.
Yeah.
Hercules.
Fun and fancy free is not a Walt Disney masterpiece.
I'm glad I saw it as like the kind of weird experiment, like novelty that it is. I don't think it did The Lion King an injustice. I guess I would recommend watching it from like a Gus Van Sant cycle, kind of like as a neat novelty, as a little novelty, as a prayer for peace. This new Lion King's a prayer for peace.
It's anything but that. It's a novelty. It's not a movie. It's just like a presentation reel.
I don't know if this sort of thing should be encouraged, that people should be going out in droves to see it and encourage Disney to make more of these.
I get that these technical advancements can only happen if you keep playing with them.
They have to make the movie in order to push the new technology. You know what else they can use to push the new technology? A short film.
Yeah.
You don't need to make an entire feature film that you've already made. You can make a short film that's a photorealistic nature movie and then just re-release the original Lion King in theaters and have the best of both worlds for a lot less money on your part.
But here's the thing. A re-release of Lion King probably won't make as much money as a whole new movie called Lion King.
Won't be an event.
And a short film won't bring in any revenue of its own at all because you just put it in theaters with a feature-length film, and it's the feature-length film that makes money. It's all driven by the economics, not by
Walt
the art.
is dead. He is dead, dead, dead. Disney's a business. They're a corporation. It's the same shit we saw with the straight-to-DVD sequels. They follow fads. Why did everyone our age start having kids and wanting to be all nostalgic for this shit?
They'll do a reboot of the Timon and Pumbaa animated series starring Benedict Cumberbatch as Quint. That'll be fun.
I don't understand that reference.
The Timon...
I don't need it explained.
Okay.
For the time being, until a month from now when everyone forgets this exists, it's the original Lion
A whole
King.
month?
Yeah,
Really?
you never know.
I'm already forgetting it existed.
Remember there was a Men in Black movie this year?
No. No, that was like 5 years ago. That didn't
You're a
happen.
time traveler.
What a hit!
On strictly a technical level of, how far can we push the photorealistic CGI animal thing, that's the only justifiable reason for this movie to exist. Yeah. As a story, just watch the original.
If you can see the original, I don't know why you wouldn't just see the original. If you have children, I don't know why you would show them this before the original.
There's going to be a certain percentage of young kids who will see this movie because their parents took them who, for whatever reason, had not seen the animated Lion King yet. So this might be their first time seeing this story. If those kids walked out like, wow, I really like this, their parents might actually say to them, oh, did you really like this? Well, let me show you what the original version was like when I was a kid, and then they'll see that version and hopefully be like, wow, this is even more amazing, and might be a gateway into them discovering all these other Disney movies that were traditionally animated in this world of everything is CGI now.
God,
So
how would they ever find access to those films?
if only there was a streaming service for $6.99 a month.
I kind of wish the movie ended with like, want to see the original this fall, Disney Plus.
Scan this QR code to go straight to the streaming page.
Good God. I admire your optimism, and I hope that's the case. I have a friend who saw Aladdin, and a comment he actually said to me, unironically, was, well, at least there's a live-action Aladdin, so if I want to watch a Disney Aladdin movie, I can watch that instead.
What?
That's actually a thing a person says.
What do you even
Are
say
you
to
friends with P.L. Travers? Did they have just an allergy to animation?
So there might be kids who are shown the originals like, oh, 2D animation, it looks so cheap and dumb. Yeah. And so
it's like black and white films or something.
I felt
Parents, show your kids the animated Lion
Teach
King
your children
first.
well.
See, there's a quote live-action Lion King, so you don't have to watch the cartoon.
Boo.
Every time I hear someone say, 2D animation, it looks so cheap, it's just like Urge to Kill Rising.
I can't believe people say that.
2D animation is basically dead, at least in this country. Disney is really the only studio that has the resources to revive it, and they're not doing it. For all we know, maybe at D23 next month they'll announce, hey, now that Jennifer Lee's in charge, we're doing a bunch of 2D, we're bringing it back again.
And the last time they tried it wasn't as successful for them with The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah, because it was released like the same weekend as Avatar.
Yeah.
Really good film, though.
And that's a freaking amazing movie.
It really is. Princess and the Frog is great.
The last one was actually Winnie the Pooh,
right?
Which was in 2011, which was released the same day as the last Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
Great idea, guys!
About Winnie the Pooh.
I miss 2D animation so goddamn much. It's not even the same analog as black and white and color, because guess what? In any editing program, you can turn a piece of color footage to black and white. and then turn it back. So black and white films can still exist. 2D animation is a very specific skill. I know it sounds dismissive to dismiss all, CG animation as just pressing a bunch of buttons, because I know there is skill involved. You need to know which buttons to press. Fine, I understand that. But it's not the same thing as actually learning how to draw frame by frame. You look at some of these old 2D animated films and you're amazed that enough people had this much talent to pull that off, and it's a dead art form now, and fuck everything.
Like at Pixar, they'll do cartoony designs, but they feel like they have to have the environments and the textures of everything be photoreal, and so we're losing like the caricature and the style of certain kinds of 3D animation and definitely 2D animation.
When I went to Disney World with Sarah, we went to one of the animation places where they showed like the big machinery that had all of the panes on levels that Walt had used to get
the multiplane camera.
Yeah, the multiplane camera to get the effect he wanted to get for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, to make that animation seem more like a real movie. I remember her looking at all that going, I had no idea Walt Disney invented that, and I basically explained to her, that's why people revere Walt Disney. It's because he and his people had to literally invent how to do things that nobody had ever thought to done before.
Yeah.
That had been done before.
Walt Disney was always pushing the envelope, so they're just trying to keep pushing it, whereas we can also have both.
The problem is not that they're pushing the envelope, the problem is that they're also putting that envelope into a paper shredder.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to invalidate 3D animation or CGI animation, there's certainly a place for it. I just miss 2D animation. I wish the two could coexist peacefully.
And I think this really showed us why.
In 1995, Toy Story and Pocahontas both came out and were huge hits. 99, Tarzan and Toy Story 2, huge hits.
98, Mulan and A Bug's Life.
Right.
And then 2001, we had Monsters, Inc. and Atlantis, and that seems to be the drop-off point.
Yeah, that's it.
We have live-action remakes of Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and The Lion King and The Little Mermaid and Tarzan and Newsies, and they all have new songs and new elements put to them. They're on Broadway. They're in school productions and high school productions. They don't have to dig through the bottom of the barrel for...
You wouldn't happen to do a web series about musicals, would you?
But I'm saying you don't have to dig at the bottom of the barrel to get fucking Evermore, which Howard Ashman didn't want anyway. Why don't you just get... If I Can't Love Her. I don't know why they're acting like the Broadway versions don't exist. I guess it's because they want to make them just different enough so that everyone will see each different product.
And they want to get at least one song to qualify for Best Original Song at the Oscars.
I know, but you could still do that too. For those of us who've seen The Lion King on stage, it's obviously not people walking around pretending to be animals.
Right.
It's suggestions, because it's theater and audiences are smart enough to see the suggestions of animals and get that they are animals. And it is still extremely effective when you see it on stage, when you see Mufasa's death. These same lines, which are infused with such weight, were met with these dead-eyed animals acting like cats, which, watch a documentary about cats. I like big cats.
There's no cat videos on the internet. I'm sorry, they're not
There's
allowed.
cats video.
There's no... Oh, God.
The most joyful and united and happy and applauding that our audience was for tonight was during the Cats trailer.
The wild
and laughing. Oh my
we
God.
were having a moment together. We
Best
had more
moment of the evening.
in those 2 minutes. We had more fun than we had in the whole movie. The
God,
audience was
we
like,
were laughing our asses off.
Well, someone was laughing, and then eventually other people joined.
Yeah, we were all kind of afraid to laugh because we knew it was
laughing.
ironic. And then finally, I couldn't control it anymore.
Back during the Aladdin thing, we came up with our top 10 list of the best live-action remakes. I'll just read them quick. Starting with worst: Dumbo, Beauty and the Beast, Alice in Wonderland, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Cinderella, Aladdin, Maleficent, 101 Dalmatians, Christopher Robin, and on top, Jungle Book. So...
You had Maleficent as number 4?
Where would you put it?
Oh, on the bottom. I hated Maleficent.
Well, it was the consensus of the 7 people there at the time. Where do we place Lion King amongst this list if we're taking this list as is?
I feel like in the middle.
The middle leaning slightly positive.
Yeah, like after
'Cause it's not
around
bad.
Cinderella.
Your main point is this movie is boring.
Right.
Was Aladdin boring? You didn't like it, but was it boring?
Say what you want about the Aladdin and Dumbo remakes, at least they had new takes on the material. They were stupid takes, but at least they were new takes. I would rate this slightly above Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Better than the Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
I didn't see Cinderella, so Luke, do you think...
I was the only one...
I saw Cinderella.
Okay, what would you say, Cinderella versus Lion King?
I like Cinderella more, but I don't know if it's better. The dress was really pretty, and I like Lily James.
The dress was really pretty. 5 stars.
It was a good dress.
I mean, that's more than could be said for the Beauty and the Beast remake.
Ew, her dress was gross. Is Pete's Dragon not on this list?
None of us saw Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon was good.
Have you seen Pete's Dragon?
Yeah, it was good. It was nothing like that.
Okay, where would you rank Pete's Dragon on this list? Because we need to put it on there.
I would have it above Maleficent.
And below 101? All right, put Pete's Dragon there.
All right.
Start with
Does
that.
anyone remember enough about the 96 Jungle Book to know where to place it?
The 94 Jungle Book.
I remember
94 Jungle Book.
Someone in the comments pointed out we neglected that in 94 there was another Jungle Book
Yeah,
remake
there was.
starring Jason Scott Lee. I never saw it. Did anyone have you?
I mean, not in the past 20 years, but at the time I watched it all. It was on like HBO or the Disney
But
Channel.
yeah, was it Disney produced?
Yeah, it was produced by Disney.
I couldn't begin to tell you because I can't remember.
Can we just say, since there is a Jungle Book on here, there's not a point in putting another Jungle Book on here.
Yeah,
Just leave it at that.
But in 20 years when they do another Disney Jungle Book.
It's an asterisk for another discussion. Does Lion King go above or below Cinderella?
Jeff just reminded me that the
Kate
villain
Blanchett
in
is
Cinderella
great.
was Kate Blanchett, so that already bumps it up.
I
And
think
she was an amazing dress.
I think Cinderella is just a little bit better.
So Lion King is below Cinderella.
I am all right with that.
Right in the middle.
I know I haven't seen a lot of these either.
He's riding upside down, so forgive me.
And he misspelled Dalmatians, but it's fine.
We'll get back to this list. What's the next one? Mulan?
Next time I cover a Disney remake, we'll
Yeah.
add all the ones that have come out in the interim to this.
This time I'll say it best to worst. Jungle Book, Christopher Robin, 101 Dalmatians, Pete's Dragon, Maleficent, Aladdin, Cinderella, The Lion King, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Alice in Wonderland, Beauty and the Beast, Dumbo. Oh, and by the way, this movie has a really adorable CGI elephant in it. It's a baby elephant. It's cute.
Oh, do you mean
Who
Disney
knew?
could do that?
If only this technology had come along 4 months earlier, then Dumbo might have been better. So there's not that many spoilers in this movie, because it is basically just the original, but there are a few here and there, so spoilers, I guess.
Mufasa dies!
Ah!
Seriously.
I am Africa, just like Bono. I am Africa.
After what we got with Beauty and the Beast 2017?
17, yeah.
I don't know what years are anymore. Okay, we need to explain, why is Gaston an asshole? What happened to Belle's mom? Why doesn't anyone remember? I was thinking, are they going to pull this kind of shit with Lion King? Because, like, what else is there to do with it? Why would you want to? Or because there are certain things people bring up online. It's like, oh, well, why does this happen? Why does this happen? Which, if you just actually pay attention to the movie, you'd probably figure it out. So,
or if you're willing to give it the benefit of the doubt and accept some magical realism, you frickin' pedants.
So I thought up a list of potential plot hole fillers or addresses to nitpicks or snarky comments to the movie that they might do. First one was, a point will be made that Simba and Nala have different fathers in order to address the incestuous implications of their relationship. Thank
They
God
did not do
not.
that. They just may as well be incestual again this time.
I feel like if they did that, and in an attempt to make him more sympathetic, Scar will have had feelings for Sarabi that wind up with either Mufasa stealing her from him or Sarabi friend zoning him.
You nailed that one.
Yeah.
They did both of those.
Yeah. References will be made to Timon hassling creatures in the savannah, a heavier emphasis placed on Zazu delivering the news, and or Pumbaa being the PG/Disney equivalent of a stoner. Perhaps the term munchies is uttered. Got one of them right. They did that with John Oliver as Zazu.
Yeah.
They made
It's the news.
And a pretty on the nose tweeting at 4 a.m. line.
Yeah.
So I got one of those. This is one I was kind of surprised they did not do, especially after LeFou and Beauty and the Beast, but incredibly thinly veiled comments that suggest that Timon and or Pumbaa are gay will be made, being innocuous and throwaway enough as to not hurt the film's Chinese box office.
Yeah,
They didn't
even do that.
miraculously.
The closest they got was just Billy Eichner's natural sassiness.
In another stab at having Scar's actions be more understandable, Mufasa will have been a generally lousy brother to Scar when they were younger, and Mufasa's flaws as a king will be explored. All of these elements of Scar's backstory will be portrayed via awkward flashback sequences. Kinda got one of them right. Apparently, they fought when they were younger, and that's how Scar gets his scar.
In the original, Scar says, I wouldn't dream of challenging you, and here he says, I wouldn't dream of challenging you again.
Right.
Which implies that maybe they fought over Sarabi and Mufasa
That's
won.
when he got his scar.
being no embarrassing flashback sequences to either that happening or him pining for Sarabi or anything like that.
There's no big Harry Potter, oh, Snape was in love with Lily sequence.
They didn't go Mufasa had his issues.
No.
Scar kind of had a point. No, it's Mufasa.
There were very fine lions on both sides.
And then finally, this is the genesis of all this, and I am disappointed they didn't do this, because I was so proud of myself for thinking of this. But in order to, quote, fill a plot hole, the drought in the Pride Lands will be caused by the spirit of Mufasa to motivate Simba to return to Pride Rock.
Considering the ghost of Mufasa took the form of, like, a lightning cloud this time, I was wondering if the lightning that struck the tree on fire was supposed to, if they were trying to imply that that was done by Mufasa this time. Here, let me help. Oh shit, I just made everything worse.
You don't deliberately see Mufasa in the clouds. Just every so often, like, the lightning forms in the shape of, a lion's face. That's a cool effect.
Let's take a simple idea that could be gotten across in one sentence, as it did in the original, and let's just hammer it the fuck home.
Yeah.
Let's have the clouds just keep on talking. It's like, you don't need the cloud. Let's have Simba go, I'm Simba, the son of Mufasa.
All right,
let's
they
take,
did it.
Let's do
now I
my
get
boy Rafiki wrong, and like take everything that was amazing about Rafiki.
Oh my god.
Rafiki was so
And
good.
took everything that was cool about him away.
This new Lion King is totally different from the original. In the original, he broke a melon over Simba's head. In this one, he breaks a couple sticks over Simba's
That's
head.
right.
The opening, the nuts, that is the original recording.
It sounded like it.
They did not re-record it.
Can Lebo M not
verse
belt
was not
like
the
that?
same
He
singer.
re-recorded it for Lion King 1.5, and you can tell a difference. He goes out when Hans Zimmer tours, and they do a Lion King portion, and he does it then, so he can still do it.
That's how half-assed this was, they literally just used that original recording.
They were going for this photorealism through the whole thing. Fine, I don't agree with it, but I accept that that's what they were going for. So what a slap in the face it was to have the opening logo look like two-dimensional.
Yeah, I noticed it's like, let me get this straight, just to make up for it, you hand drew and traditionally animated the opening logo.
That's all you get.
But it's not like the old Disney, it's the current CGI castle logo, except redone as like, not even hand-drawn, like cutout.
Yeah.
What is this like flannel graph you're showing me of the Disney logo, just to remind me how much I like looking at 2D animation?
It was the same one from Jungle Book.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure, because it had that kind of old school
I don't think
2D
I've ever
look, and
seen
then it
that
had the
before.
Disney logo in like yellow.
Adding like 9 extra shots of the little mouse at the beginning before Scar catches
Oh my
it.
god!
And the mouse survives at the end.
But then they
figures Disney would let a mouse survive.
Hey, did anyone think it was weird that Simba was grossed out by eating bugs when we saw him trying to catch a bug at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, well, that I just thought was foreshadowing.
Yeah.
The scene where Mufasa says, "Look up at the stars, the great kings of the past are looking down on us from those stars." In the original, when it just ends with him saying, they will always be there with you, and so will I, and that was the perfect end of that scene. And here they extend it, and Simba's like, I can't see him. Look harder.
Hammer it.
And they don't really do anything. It's not like there's a constellation that forms in the shape of a lion or something. But
no, that was for the Mufasa cloud scene.
What happened in Be Prepared? Why couldn't he sing a little bit?
Okay, the Tom Lehrer song "Be Prepared" was longer. This had a different first verse of "Be Prepared," and then it cut immediately to the last chorus. And it was no song. It barely had any beat behind it.
It was a Will Shatner poem reading of the song.
Pretty much, yeah.
Shatner doing an Elton John song, that just couldn't happen.
And I think I'm gonna be prepared.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
As a kite by then. They literally call it "Be Prepared" (2019). in the credits.
In the original version, the first half is full of cartoon wackiness, and the second half is full of Nazi symbolism.
So they're supposed to be the bad guys.
Come up with a new.
They didn't have
Come up with something new.
I remember like a year and a half or so ago, there was an announcement that this movie wouldn't have Be Prepared in it. Because there was this fan outcry. It's like, you can't do Lion King without Be Prepared. We want Be Prepared in it. So
they probably shouldn't have done it.
This seemed like a halfway concession. It's like, all right, we'll barely do Be Prepared just to satiate you nerds.
It's like, oh, you begged for it, you fuckers.
What a waste of Eric Andre. The Eric Andre show is one of my favorite shows of the last few years. I love how insane it is. In the original Lion King, there's literally a hyena who's just insane, who just laughs all the time. And Eric Andre in this was just a hyena who invaded personal space, and that's hilarious.
Cast comedians as the funny hyenas
and not let them be funny.
Like, what is the defining characteristic of a hyena?
Hey, Eric Andre's
the laughter. They laugh.
Shenzi had such a different role in this movie.
Right.
She wasn't just Whoopi Goldberg this time. She was the conniving queen, seemingly just so that they could once again have a Warring Nations metaphor in a Disney remake. First, fucking Jafar is John Bolton, and now, all this.
What was the metaphor, though? It seems so... It's like, at least pick something.
It was brought up to be dropped immediately.
Right. She faces off against Beyonce Nala, and they have a cat fight. One of the very few genuine improvements I thought this film made to the original was replacing just kind of a generic, oh, wait here, there will be a surprise, with a much more sinister, you've got to work on your roar. All lions go to this gorge to work on the roar, and that way Simba has much more of a connection to what happens, because he thinks his roar is what caused the wildebeest stampede.
Not only does that give it more of a connection to Simba's guilt later on, but it also plays into Simba's desires as a character. Beyond just Simba as kid who wants surprise. What Simba specifically wants throughout this movie is to not feel like a kid anymore. I don't know if I would say it was necessarily better than the original, but it was certainly streamlined in a way most of this movie wasn't.
It's more of a direct line. It's less convoluted this time. That was one of the very few story beats that I actually thought was better.
One of the funniest moments of Seth Rogen's was like, I thought you were going to cut me off. Because that was the thing from the original.
They actually said farted.
He's stretching this out because he's waiting for him to stop him. I farted. Aren't you going to stop me? No, you're just going to... Well, we got PG. We might as well let him say it.
I laughed at it, but then I felt dirty afterwards.
Yeah. Timon and Pumbaa definitely had the most meta jokes. A lot of jokes about the fact that, they know that their branding is such a big deal.
You gained 400 pounds since we started this.
So the other big scene they added with Nala was her, a long scene of her sneaking away from Pride Rock.
Yeah, you didn't need it.
So unnecessary.
Just to give Nala more screen time because she's played by the biggest star in the world, even though it's not like she says that much in the scene. Everyone's trapped here, but I'm gonna take a stand.
So Scar's an incel now. He's obsessed with Sarabi, Simba's mom.
I think it wasn't about him having any want of romantic relationship. It was all about the power. It's like the other lions won't respect me unless you're my queen.
I mean, ostensibly, that's how incels feel too.
I guess incel's a lateral move from hyena Nazi.
Yeah, I guess
I used to
depending on
play
the way you
bass for
score
hyena
it.
Nazi. Should we talk about the journey of the hair? That whole 20-minute sequence?
Here's the thing. I admired that in 2019, a big blockbuster movie allowed itself to have moments where things were just kind of quiet, and it was the visuals telling a story.
It, again, pounded home the whole circle of life thing, because the hair goes a certain thing, lands in a tree, and a giraffe eats it, and then they fade to black, and then they fade back in, and a dung beetle is pushing a ball of dung that has the hair in it, and I'm like...
We get it!
There were some animators who spent a year on that sequence.
There was
had to get the texture of the dung.
We gotta do it again. We gotta do it again.
It's the texture of dung.
And also, when Rafiki finally grabs the thing, the first thing he smells isn't giraffe shit. Remember when South Park did that parody of the Circle of Life called The Cycle of Poo?
Yeah.
It's like, this is literally that.
We spent 3 years and $2 billion on giraffe shit.
On that one sequence, we had to get it right.
After Hakuna Matata, they have the whole speech driving home the fact that Hakuna Matata isn't actually where the character arc's supposed to end up, where it's like, yeah, just don't give a shit about anybody.
Timon and Pumbaa make a weird argument for nihilism, And they debate the geometry of how life works. Like, it's not a circle of life, it's a straight line of indifference.
But the funny part about that is, while they're sitting there talking about how, just worry about yourself, blah, 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 and they're doing all this stuff around the big anthill, and literally, as they are doing stuff at the anthill, it is benefiting everybody else around them who are coming in and eating the bugs. Nihilism, but they are literally helping everybody else while they're talking about how nihilism is the right way to go.
I don't know if it was necessary, but again, it was like, well, it's something I haven't seen before.
It doesn't get to the core of why they feel that way. This is one area where I really think the film could have had an opportunity to do something interesting and just completely chicken out. Because the reason Timon and Pumbaa feel like there's no point to anything is because they're prey. Is because they've been preyed upon their whole lives. We're gonna get caught and eaten anyway, so, who cares? No worries. Hakuna Matata. We're gonna die, our lives are meaningless. The element that The Lion King would have needed in order to be truly subversive and interesting was a Black Panther, all of you were wrong moment, where, Simba kind of realizes, oh my god, lions are kind of part of the problem here. Granted, in nature, that would never happen, because lions just are kind of dicks in nature, but lions also don't talk. You can do whatever you want in a movie.
He needed
why
Judy
not?
Hopps to show up.
Timon and Pumbaa have their own little community of animals that isn't just the three of them living alone in a jungle.
And there were a whole bunch of comedians, apparently, like Amy Sedaris was
Amy,
in there.
Amy
Who knew?
Sedaris, Phil LaMarr
Phil
was in
LaMarr,
it.
yeah. They all kind of joined him in singing The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and that was pretty nice and really kind of, I don't know, I was kind of like, I don't know, this is silly, but I like it, but then Nala busts in, and I genuinely thought that was kind of funny. I gotta
that was great. This film does have its moments.
We're doing a musical number, we're all clapping in rhythm, blah, 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 lion attacks you!
But why couldn't
it's like,
they
that
just...
was great!
It was a believable moment in the original of Nala being like, what's going on? Who are you? But in this, it was like Simba's just like, wait, Nala? And I was like, Simba?
That's it.
Yeah.
I also...
Awesome.
Did we just become best friends? Yup!
So my hot take, the Be Our Guest joke was not worse than Dress and Dragon Do the Hula, but it was more self-indulgent.
I'll give it this much, it was better than the Be Our Guest sequence in the Beauty and the Beast remake. So
it was a much more direct meta joke than anything in Aladdin.
Yeah.
So,
but like,
not that many meta jokes. Aside from the Fantasyland joke in Aladdin.
Yeah.
I was really thinking that they might try to change how Scar admits to killing Mufasa at the end, because he basically just tells him.
It's very Bond villain.
Yeah, there's no like security cameras.
He just decides to tell, and everybody's standing right there. In this version, she said, you said you didn't make it to the gorge.
Yeah, I didn't like that because the idea in the original is that no one else
can hear it.
He has to confess, and so they do that, and then it's like, well, you just said, it's like, well, how the fuck did you hear that?
They all just, and he just said it for no reason. He was about to win. He just gave up.
I appreciated that she didn't say lioness's attack. She just said lion's attack.
No, I thought that line was a little too much.
But I was like, why say it? Why couldn't you just go rawr? Why couldn't you just go rawr?
Pikachu, go! Something like that.
Do something!
The song He Lives in You with Zulu lyrics was played over the end credits, so finally, one of these remakes kinda sorta acknowledges the Broadway version.
Yeah.
Even though that song wasn't originally written for the Broadway version, it was written for the album Rhythm of the Pride Lands and then was used in the Broadway
Would have
version.
been a nice way to make the movie a little different and make more of a connection between Rafiki and Simba.
Yeah.
To put that song actually where it falls in the Broadway version, which is when they're looking at the freaking clouds of Mufasa.
They could have used it in place of the Beyonce song.
They didn't do anything with freaking Rafiki. Like, they sort of had a few moments. I mean, he speaks in his native language a lot, which is really cool. There's this part where he pulls his stick out of the tree and is like, hello, old friend.
It's like he's unwielding Excalibur.
So in the original version, he has this staff the whole movie. He bops Simba on the head with it. They have a little moment.
They removed that scene. They removed the scene of bopping him on the head.
I feel like that was another fan service thing because it felt very tacked on.
Yep.
I have expected him to do like Sweeney Todd, my friend.
Then he brings it out for the fight like he does in the original. But again, photorealism, so he swings it around like a goddamn monkey, and that's the big triumphant fight. And glad we got that stick out.
The wise old man who's using his walking stick, now he's using it as a karate weapon.
Yeah.
But it's played for comedy, here it's played for action, and it does not land.
Oh, no.
In the animated film, the first thing we see of Rafiki is the stick moving through the crowd. But here we just saw Rafiki crawling. I was like, oh, I guess he doesn't have the stick because it's not realistic for a monkey to have a stick. Fine, whatever. He doesn't have a stick. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But they treat the moment with the stick as if it has significance when it's just for the audience. There's no significance within the narrative of the film placed on the stick.
Watching that for the first time is gonna get it.
It would have been more realistic to how animals act if they had not had him do that reveal and then just showed up at the fight and had a stick.
And he just had a stick.
He's an ape.
And it's like,
I have opposable thumbs. Stick.
This is a fucking version of Chekhov's stick where it's like, if a stick is introduced in the third act, then you've got to use it in the same act.
He did magic in a tree. Why
ain't no rules as a monkey can't have a stick.
And now it's time for What's the Attraction? So there have been a variety of Lion King attractions at the parks over the years. How are they going to represent this remake, Dave?
They're going to bring back Legend of the Lion King, the puppet show, but instead of the cute cartoon puppets, they're going to use the pelts of all the animals who die at Animal Kingdom every year.
Oh, God. Ryan.
This is less me trying to like be cute or clever with it. The fact that the biggest movie Disney ever fucking made does not have its own ride, but just shows that come and go is kind of bewildering. So the closest thing I can think of with kind of a thrilling aspect, but doing like classic Disney dark ride, maybe something Radiator Springs style with a safari, maybe.
Luke.
Over at Epcot, they got to build a new thing in the Save the Environment section, talking about whatever's currently happening that's messing up the environment. Last Beak Tonight with Zazu, where he talks about all of those things and how much money it will cost to fix, and it doesn't matter what the accounting is because Timon and accounting does not give a fuck.
You're wrong, Timon, you're wrong!
And he reveals that Scar's real name was Skur or something.
Hashtag Skur, hashtag feminism.
Jeff!
I think you're on track with the dark ride element. I think it should be when the Hakuna Matata song, when he meets Timon and Pumbaa, and then it should end with the big anthill falling over and all the bugs come out, and the little kids get to eat like gummy worms after they leave.
Emily.
Well, I mean, we're going for photorealism, so it's like, why stop there? So I say we put the animals on stage in a live musical extravaganza. We pump in Donald Glover and Beyonce's voices and just watch them act like real fucking animals.
Whoa.
And we'll see how engaging that is.
Literally real fucking animals.
Well, I mean, that scene between Simba and Nala should have had a little bit more.
That's
fucking.
part of the circle of life.
I was expecting something like that.
She gives him that look.
Those animal trainers will love that idea. That'll take 10 years to
What?
build.
It's real. It's photo-real.
Well, as usual, you're all wrong. What they are going to do is, because they're not going to build a new attraction based on this, it wouldn't be faithful to what they're going for with this movie to do anything original. So what they're going to do is they're going to slightly retheme the Jungle Cruise, and the scene where you go up to the lions, instead of them eating the zebra, they'll just be eating bugs. They'll just remove the zebra entirely, because this film subtracts more than it adds. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, a whim away, 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 a whim away.
The spaceship, the silver spaceship.
This video was made possible by the very generous contributions to my Patreon. Special thanks to all my patrons, and huge special thanks in particular to Mark Aquino, Bennett Ballard, Raul Campos, Ryan Enos, Noah Fine, Wesley Fox, Michael Hamilton, Jacob Harris, Houston Housley, Morgan Kellis, Hannah Martin, Landon McAfee, Roby Bobart Pires, Kate Quinn, Chris Reyna, and Brett Trail. Extra huge special thanks to Keith Baggs, super extra huge special thanks to Ryan Walterson, and super duper extra huge special thanks to executive producers Joe Goldmark and Edgar Barocho. If I mispronounced anyone's name, please send me a message letting me know. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.
Circle
of life.
I do not approve of this.
Keep those reefers hidden where you're sure that they will not be found, and be careful not to smoke them when the scoutmaster's around, for he only will insist that they be shared. Be prepared.
You didn't like the Lion King. You're mean.